Let's say they bring in 30 new kids,
Okay.
or 25. You could pick one, 25 or 30 kids total. How many from the portal? How many from high school do you think that they would get to that number with?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to gauge like the total number for high school. I would say 22 maybe. 23, 22, 23, and then portal. I think it'll be similar to what we've seen before, 7, 8. It just depends on what the holes are. Carol, it's hard to picture and pinpoint the exact because FSU doesn't recruit the portal like other schools do, where they only really push for it if there's a hole there. If there's a one where, unless it's a really elite guy where they, you know what, we got to have that guy. He dramatically changes our roster, what he looked like, and in the day, I tell this all the time, Tom. It's like it's about the roster. When that we can talk about high school portal, in the end of the day, it's about what is on that roster and who the best guy is on that roster and who the best players are and who's going to help you. So whether that's a few more than we expect portal guys or a few less high school guys, that's what it is. But overall, I think FSU views this as players. So that's kind of my guess right now, as far as that number. But I don't have a percentage, but that's kind of where I think it's at going into the season.
Makes sense. Lee wants to know, and I asked for some specificity here, but I'm going to assume he's talking about maybe Gainesville's head coach. Michael, Tom, does competing coaches on the hot seat have any impact on FSU's recruiting? We often hear about that, Michael. We heard about it when Mike Norvell's tenure was on shaky ground and how other universities were going after him. Florida's schedule, we all see it. We know what record they're coming off of.
Yeah.
Not an easy 12-game slate for Florida. What do you think about the impact of hot seat status?
Hot seat status doesn't start until the game start, Lee. So yeah, there's talk and all that stuff, but it's mainly talk. You can decipher that stuff. You can break it down. Coaches, when they have kids on campus, they can kind of ease their minds. But then once the game starts, reality's there. That's when you start where I do think it'll impact a hot seat. It will. If Florida somehow loses to Miami, which I don't expect, then yeah, it's going to affect Florida. Same thing with Miami. They lose that game. Miami doesn't have a lot of tough games to lean on. Say, hey, we beat this team, we beat this team, and there's a lot of possibilities of games that they should win. That if they don't, it's going to negatively affect recruiting. So I think the hot seat really cranks up. Once we get into the game, especially that I'd circle that Florida Miami game. I didn't want to give the secret out, but I'm probably going to be at that game, so I'm going to go. I just want to see, I just kind of want to watch it from a regular standpoint, but I'm just interested to see what it looks like. Kind of almost a scouting of
Yep.
future opponents for FSU, but overall, I think that game has a dramatic impact on recruiting for I think all three schools. Not even though FSU's not playing, it still has an impact. Florida wins that game. You have Tennessee, Kentucky coming up, early parts of the year. It kind of sets you up to maybe, do some things. But if they lose, it's going to be disastrous. I'm not going to say Billy Napier should already get his pink papers ready if they lose that game, but the trends are starting, and it would be tough for me to see him surviving that. And same thing when, Cristobal loses that game, the chirps are going to start. And then, their first home game, if they lose that, it could crank up. So it does have effect on a lot of different things in recruiting, but don't think it'll start, Lee, until the season starts.
What would you say to jaded FSU fans who don't get excited about a kid who commits and still has 2 years of high school left? I'll even say, let's just say about Wynn or about Solomon Thomas saying, I'm a Nole, and Javion Hilson saying, I'm shutting it down. What would you say to those fans who are like, I've been hurt before?
I would say, I feel you. I understand your feeling. If I were going through it like as an FSU fan, I would probably feel a similar way because of what happened with KJ Bolden last year. That has burned a lot of people where you go through the whole year, he's saying solid, I'm solid, I'm solid, I'm solid, and then next thing you know, he flips to Georgia on signing day. So I feel you. I've said this on the board when Brady committed, celebrate the great moments of what you're going through at that time. Celebrate the fact that your roster looks good. Celebrate that they're committed right now. I mean, you don't have to put a lot of emotional input into it, but and know what staff that you have in control. If you weren't sold on the staff, then I would be concerned. but I don't think you should be concerned with the staff they have in place. Extremely organized group, extremely aggressive group. They do a great job when kids are on campus. They have all the blueprints that you look for from FSU fans of the type of kids they're getting. So I think overall, celebrate the moments that you're in. Don't worry about so much of what's down the line. Deal with that when you get to that point. But right now, celebrate where we're in. Don't look at the future, because you look at the future, it'll just give you ulcers. Don't look at stuff that has no control. You can't control any of that stuff. You can't control if a kid flips. Uh, Trust what your coaching staff that you're sold on, that you guys pay your hard money to go see and watch and support. Trust what they're doing, and if you trust them, it shouldn't be a problem. But if you don't, then I guess some people can panic and worry about it. But as I said before, I feel you guys. I understand the investment inside of recruiting. That a lot for some people, it's not till the fall, and that's totally fine. But for those that are looking for a pep, I would just say celebrate the great moments you're doing. Celebrate just what you have and what they're going to have, Tom. Because I believe it's certainly a chance to still get, legitimately. I feel confident it will be a top 10 high school class, and then certainly I think there's a really high chance that you see a strong portal recruiting again this year. And I get the question all the time about the portal. Is like, what is it? Is it good? Is it bad? It's like, look at the hit rate of what FSU does as far as development and product out of every transfer they get. I think there was something on the draft where they had 3 of the top 4 FSU came drafted in the first 3 rounds. So it's
Yeah.
what you do when they're there. And I don't think anybody can touch what the hit rate FSU's is. And so that's kind of, if you're looking for the portal and why it's so important, look at no farther than the examples of what FSU shown on the field. But I think overall, don't put too much into recruiting and don't too much out of it. Be happy and celebrate the ones that you do have, and focus on the season. That's the best way I can do it, because I can't make you feel a certain way. Just like I can't go on the board and say, hey, you shouldn't panic about this guy. I can't make you do that. All I can do is share what's going on, what's going on recruiting. But I can say this: I know the staff that's recruiting them. I know these guys. Um, I I I trust what they do as far as the product they're sending out, and I think overall, I think FSU fans should be very excited about what they have so far.